Welcome to Everyone Has a Story podcast. We're here to talk about gifts to ourselves and to others today. I believe that every one of us has our own unique set of gifts. Some have more than others, some have a little bit more quality than others, but the fact is, we all have our own set of gifts. And do we ever really apply them to ourselves? Now, there's an old joke. I've heard this joke probably when I was 5 years old, and I still hear it today, that it's about the local auto mechanic. He's the best auto mechanic in town, but he has the worst running car because he never takes the time to apply his gift to himself, to his family, or whatever. It's always for someone else. But now we hear about gifts in the sense of self-love, self-care. But what does that really mean? All I really know for sure is that I've been told that it's the greatest gift that any individual can give themselves is to take care of themselves. But does it go deeper than that? Take, for example, this podcast. It started right when COVID hit. The previous 16 months, I was giving live workshops to local business owners, small businesses and medium-sized businesses for 16 straight months, sometimes twice a month. And then COVID hit, and I had to stop those live workshops. The local government, the state government, the federal government said it's best that we just don't mingle with one another. And so, live workshops were kind of put on hold. So after about a month or two of the whole world being closed down, I got invited to be a guest speaker on a podcast. And I had the time of my life. I love to talk. I love to communicate. I love business. I love telling stories. So I'm on this podcast. I'm having fun. And I'm thinking, boy, this is how I could do my workshops. But I really didn't want to do them live. But I figured I could do a weekly podcast, get to tell one of my 748 stories that I have on record, and apply that to some business, program, system, perspective, or whatever, and to help with people with their own individual professional development. So then I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to do this because I can apply my stories. But it gave me now something tangible that I can now have on record, like a book. A podcast is no different other than it's not in written form, it's on video form and audio form. But I'm able to tell one of my stories, which I love to do, but then apply that to a business principle. And that was my gift to myself. So today, I've got an individual here who, in her own way, she learned that lesson as well. She wrote a book. This book really challenged her. She made a promise to herself a long, long time ago that she was going to write this book, and she did. And really, when I first met my guest speaker, Emilie, she told me how really I wrote this book because it was a gift to myself. And to me, I love that because the fact of the matter is, we all know what's good for us. When it comes to self-love, some self-care, we know what's good for us. Do we always follow those suits? No. But when you take the time of your life to write a book, that's no easy process. And then to get it published and get your name out there and everything like that, and then to go on the tour of selling your book like that, that takes time out of your life. But the fact of the matter is, some people write books for entertainment purposes only. And some write books to really help people who probably have walks in their shoes somehow, some way, and they actually didn't know how to move on. And so really this book is a story of her past, which could be a Netflix documentary series as far as I'm concerned. Plus at the same time, it helps people know that there is another path that they can take. We all go through our trials and tribulations, but there is other paths that can be taken to move on past that. Plus, not just writing this book, she has decided to become that person, that coach, that healer to help people with that journey if they need that additional help. So, with that being said, let me introduce Emilie Macas. How are you? Thank you for being here.
I'm good. And you, Roger, thank you for having me.
Oh, great to have you here. Emilie is a holistic health practitioner and she's the author of A Naked Truth of a Healer. We'll get into that here in a little bit, but I have to say right now, stay tuned through all this because there's some good stuff here. And every time I have a conversation with Emilie, I'm always learning something more and more, not just about her past, but how she decided on her own that, you know what, she was not going to let that be, the statement of life that's going to really reflect on her. She knew what she wanted from a long time ago. But as we all grow and mature, we realize that yes, we are going to try a path. And, sometimes those paths work and sometimes they don't. But the fact of the matter is, she knew when to say, "Whoa, you know what? I took a right turn here. I think I'm going to now put it in pause, go reverse, and let's start another path." And that's really what we're going to hear talk about today. But really, the overall message today is really we all have gifts and we want them to be used by you. So that way we all get a chance to enjoy what we're good at as opposed to sharing it with everybody else on this planet and not taking the time to enjoy it ourselves. So, Emilie, let's start. Thank you again for being here. Let's get started here, okay? So, you do a lot. I mean, there's a whole boatload of initials and everything behind your name. But the fact of the matter is, you're an author, you're a healer, you're a coach. So tell us, how do you combine all that in what you actually do for your audience, your clients, your customers?
Okay. There's a lot of titles, but for me, the only titles or modalities that serve and help me to serve the people that come. I've been in private practice over a decade now, almost 11 years very soon. And really what I do is, I think it's really my gift, is creating a space, a safe space for people to connect with their internal world. And that's where the magic happens. When you feel safe, um, there is already healing that occurs because you feel that the person is supporting you and you feeling safe in this environment. And it's when you are able to unpack the luggage. So I believe this is one of my gifts, and I'm an emotional awareness facilitator, where really the goal is to help people build their self-awareness, to connect with the healer within. Yes, I am so-called healer, but I can't heal anyone. But my mission has been helping people to connect with the healer within and tap into their inner pharmacy, because that's given to all of us. So that's really what I do when I'm working with people.
So you've referenced in the book and you've referenced, all of our conversations that from a very, very young age, 10, 11, or 12, something like that, you wanted to put your story in writing.
When I was
So
7.
7, okay. So tell us about what made you finally, because obviously you're no longer 7 years old. So
Nope.
what made you say, you know what? I made this promise to myself. I have this gift. I've learned a lot from my life. I'm going to write this book.
So I believe that this book was already written in my soul, because I was 7 years old and I told my grade 1 teacher that I was going to write one day a book about my life and that would help people. So I believe it's been within me for so long. I started when I was 40, on and off. But again, I think I needed to go through still a certain journey, because I didn't believe that first of all, people would be interested in reading my story, but also it's my third language. English is my third language. And I wrote the book in my third language. So I was like, there is no way, Emilie, you can't do this. So it was on and off until I was very another gift from COVID. I was very lucky to be part of 3 intensive writing days with Neil Strauss, who's a very well-known author and bestseller. And after these 3 days, he was able to help with many of the modality that he offered us. I was able to understand that I was my own blockage because I didn't believe in myself. And this is really when the commitment started. And we were in lockdown. The kids were in video school. And I committed myself to finish this book that I had started earlier. And I believed that I was going to do it. And the very first gift was not only, yes, to offer to others a legacy for my children. The very first thing was thinking about them, but it was a gift to myself because as I was writing certain chapters that were very difficult, I deleted the chapters, I put them back, and it's when I understood that it was needed. I needed to revisit and go and really heal um, certain parts of my story, and without sharing everything. But the story, the book has 2 parts. Part 1 is my story. Part 2 is a deep reflection through the lens of a holistic educator. And I do bring my readers to the journey of the most traumatic moments of my life. And now that my father passed away a year ago, I can really say that healing my wounds was really a gift to myself because I was able to forgive, but really not just say, oh, I forgive my father, really getting to that place of letting go and heal those scars and be able to be in a place of peace and serenity. So that was the most beautiful gift I could give to myself.
And and there's nothing better to me that tells me that that's the kind of self-love and self-care we should give ourselves, is realizing that and giving up some of those barriers and past traumas in life. So let's go back a few years. You're 7-year-old again.
Yeah.
What was the tipping point for you to even think about at 7 years old that you're going to write a book one day about your life?
Because I had an understanding. One of the things that I always had since I'm little, I always observed. And I was also in a family where children didn't have the chance to share their thoughts or their emotions or their feelings. We didn't have the chance to do so. So I learned to observe a lot. And my dad was a Jehovah Witness. So I never had a birthday. I never had Easter. I never had a Christmas. So we'll get back to school. And I had an understanding that my childhood was very different. I never had a bicycle because my father always thought that bicycle was freedom and we didn't need freedom. So I never had a bicycle and we never really went to the park. We would only do that in the summer with my uncle when we'd visit in Portugal. So I had already an understanding that that was my childhood was a very different childhood than many other children. And again, I do believe that this book was written in my soul. I just needed to go and really go into the journey to be able to share this journey.
Many individuals on this planet have had a lot of challenging experiences growing up, and some of them just don't know how to get past them. That trauma that they felt back then just keeps festering and festering. They try to put it back as far as they can in that back closet in the back of their head, but from time to time it keeps coming forward to really where it becomes debilitating. So how does someone decide that, enough is enough? I was given these experiences to learn something from it. So take a pause in life, try to find what that message that they were trying to be taught during those down moments, those, really traumatic experiences. And, and I want to do something to help someone else, because not only is it going to help me, like you said, writing these stories helped you recover from all of these traumatic experiences that they'll read when they read your book. But the fact is, we all have a book inside of us of many different chapters. And some, like I said, have become more traumatic than others. And so, how can someone be aware that this might be the best way to move forward in a more positive light than to put it down in writing, maybe not publish it, but at least get it down in writing to where, it's now out. So if anything else, you can take it up, crumple it up, and throw it in the wastebasket. And hopefully it's away from you for the rest of your life. So how does someone become aware of this, that this might be where they need to go, what direction they need to go?
I can't say when or how. I can only share, for example, for me, my own experience was my diagnosis with an autoimmune disorder when I was a new mom. And it took me a year after taking the pharmaceutical medication and understanding that I was still in pain, still moments where I couldn't do certain things, or like opening a bottle or holding my son. And now I was living with the side effects of the medication. And that was my wake-up call. That was when I realized that I couldn't live like this. The physical pain was mirroring my emotional pain. And everything starts with a decision. We have a decision to make. We all have a story. We all have a story. That is the point of our humanness. We, as human beings, we have a story. This is where we all connect. Now is we can choose to stay unconscious and live unconsciously, but that we realize or not, everything is stored in the body. The body keeps score. So that we think we are putting it very down, down, down our body, and we're not thinking about anything, it's there. And suddenly it can come. And it can appear in many ways. And emotional triggers will always occur because we all have trauma. We have perhaps needs that were not met as a child. We have coping mechanism. All of us, we all have a level of trauma. So we may think it's suppressed, but suppressing is not healing. So we have to make a decision of, no, I'm going to dive deeper. And I want to heal these wounds, not putting a band-aid and a quick fix. Really go deeper to the root and heal. And for that, we have to make a decision. And this is a commitment towards ourselves.
So a lot of us, a lot of experts out there say that what we experience in our childhood really starts to come back to the surface as we grow up. Okay, but let's take a fast forward to we're now young adults. Does this same principle apply to our adulthood? Because we are going to experience failures in business. 82% of all small to medium-sized business owners in businesses fail within the first 2 to 4 years. there are people who have worked for a company for a long part of their life to find out that, oops, they're no longer necessary, they're no longer relevant in that company, and they're terminated. And here they gave the biggest part of their life, especially their professional life, to this company to have that company turn their backs on them. Those are all traumatic experiences too. And I've met a lot of people who they took it as a blessing because they realized that they did have this gift and they want to start sharing whatever that unique gift is. And they wanted to start proceeding that toward that gift because they felt like they gave so much to this organization, to this individual, and now all of a sudden they're no longer relevant there and they're no longer there. And some people see it as a gift. Some people, all they do is go home and brew over it. So does this same principle that you experienced when you were 7 years old all the way up to where you are now, is it relevant and is it really applicable to our professional lives as well?
Well, yes. And I'm gonna, for example, self-awareness, even in business, is very important because without self-awareness, we are not able to understand ourselves or others and the relationship that we have with others. So for me, it is always all starts with us. So understanding that any trauma, anything that affected us in our childhood does leak into our adulthood if we are not aware. Because trauma not only affects our nervous system, our brain, but it does affect the way we perceive ourselves, the way we perceive the world. There is coping mechanism, there is adaptations, core beliefs. So if we are not aware, if we do not look into it, then of course it's going to affect the way we act, the way we react, the way we perceive. So for example, even when we look at self-awareness has a great impact in business and entrepreneurs because when you build self-awareness, you have a better understanding of your thoughts, your emotions, your strengths, your weakness. It's going to strengthen the way it's going to help with better decision making, the way conscious, you're going to be more conscious the way you are communicating with others. There is a better relationship. So, of course, when we look at, you're talking about businesses, organizations, but they are made of individuals. So if each person builds and nurtures self-awareness, it's going to be a much better environment to work with, right? Because when you learn to be compassionate towards yourself, you understand who you are, really, not your adaptations, not your trauma, not your story, right? Because we can't change the past, but we can change the narrative of our stories, all of us. Then we also have a better understanding that the other person beside us and the other one also has a story, also has trauma. We don't even know what happened, but then we have a better understanding of being more conscious and more compassionate towards others when we're more compassionate towards ourselves. So for me, it is always all starts with us. And this is really there is a ripple effect in our own healing. Just like one of the things I think we talked about that when we talk about peace in the world. Yes, we do need to wish and pray for peace, but it has to start with our inner peace. Because if we're in conflict in our internal world, this is how we're going to show up in the world. But it's also what we are going to share with the world around us. So if we are able to find inner peace, this is how we are going to be able to impact others around us. all starts with us. That's what I believe.
I love that. So put your coaching hat on and your healer hat on,
Okay.
and walk us through how you would help us find that gift within ourselves and to really start seeing some of the benefits themselves towards the gift that they have.
And you asking, so what are the resources or tools that people can? So the very first thing, and we live in a society that sometimes people think that things have to be complicated to be impactful or successful. Actually, no. The less complicated, the better. And for me, it is always starting with foundation. So we talked about awareness, self-awareness. How is it important? Well, it starts there. Because if you're not aware, you can't change. You can't create changes in your life because you're not aware. So it's starting with those foundation, building foundation, being aware. Most of the time we are disconnected from ourselves. We need to go back and be in tune with our body most of the time. And even our breathing, for example, we talk about conscious breathing, unconscious breathing. Most of the time, we're not even aware of our breathing. We know we're breathing because we are alive, but we're not even aware. Start there. Starting to build self-awareness, sensation in the body. How do I feel? I feel this. Where? Being more in tune and connected with ourselves. And for that, you need to be present in the right here, right now. Most of the time, we're not because we are thinking about the 50,000 things that we have to do. So people are talking with us most of the time. We're not even listening. And it's being aware right here, right now, starting to have an understanding of emotions, feelings, and not suppressing it, sitting with these emotions and these feelings, because that's when we really dive and learn.
I love that. I can't thank you enough for being here and really sharing you and sharing your story and really what you've learned from it. It truly is a gift, and I know you truly believe that every one of us has our own unique gift within all of us that we should embrace and really, you know, apply it to ourselves, whatever that might be, in whatever direction that might be. And to me, this is self-care and self-love to what it really is meant to be. Because we all know about diets and nutrition and working out and all this kind of stuff. And yes, we do need to take the time for all that. I'm a firm believer in it. But at the same time, though, a lot of it, that gift within us that needs to come out, it goes so much deeper than just nutrition and working out, every week and feeling good physically and mentally. You really got to really dig deep and bring it forth and get rid of it, because no matter how good a shape you're in, if you still have those haunting traumas, and it's still going to impact you, right?
Because we are whole. This is what we need to look at ourselves. Who we are is whole. So we can have the best diet, organic diet, and be very careful with what we eat and be exercise. But if our mental and our emotional fitness is not looked after, you're still not in balance, right? So it's feeding ourselves as a whole. These parts are very important. And this is what I believe. When harmoniously you have your physicality, your mental, you have the emotional and the spiritual part of us working harmoniously, you are able to tap into your inner pharmacy. That is within all of us. It's not some are gifted and others are not. We are all gifted because we are all whole. That's who we are. We are beings of infinite possibilities. It's just really learning to dig deeper and really learn who we are, not who we think we are, but really connect with going home, who we truly are. And this is where we are able to unleash our full potential and our magic.
Well, thank you again for being my guest today.
No, thank you for having me.
Leave us with one more closing inspirational thought from Emilie.
I'm going to say that because it's something that it took me a while to really feel, and now I'm saying, and I feel it with every fiber within me. We can't fail at being who we are because there is no one like us. And we can't change the past, but we can change the narrative of our stories.
Well, thank you. And how can someone reach out to you and get a hold of you if they hear this podcast and want to get to know you and your services?
Okay, so definitely there is the book. The book is on Amazon, on Indigo, Barnes and Nobles, online as well. So The Naked Truth of a Healer, The Path to My Authentic Self is the book. And then you can reach out. There is my website, www.emiliemacas.ca. So people can reach out, and there is many offerings that I do offer as services.
Well, this has been enjoyable and very well timed. So thank you again.
Thank you, Roger.
My podcast wouldn't be the same if it wasn't for my sponsors and my great supporters. So let me take this opportunity to thank each and every one of them. First of all, I want to thank Rebecca at Custom Bookkeeping and Accounting, delivering trustworthy bookkeeping services since 2003. Dave and Dara at Virtues Matter, making this world a much happier place to be with their Virtues card apps, coaching, and workshops. Stephen at Buller Accounting, giving business owners depth and insight to their numbers. Eric and his team at Ivy Cat Web Design, the real superheroes of web development and design. Jennifer and Jean at the Seavers Real Estate Team, serving Pierce and Kitsap counties with their home buying and selling needs. Maury at the Maury Method, the world's only brainwave entrainment engineer, helping everyone have more clarity, less stress, and overall better brain health. Priya at Pivot My Profit, helping individuals and businesses have better control of their finances and more money at the end of their day. Melissa at the Soul Vibe Energy High, the queen of the aha moments, helping individuals find those holes in their cups, repair the hole, and gain back their positive energy. And finally, Rick at West Sound Recording. You talk, they do all the rest. Thank you, Rick, for all your efforts with the production and editing of my podcast.